ya 98%.
Kwanza ningempa kongole sana Mr. President. Barabara si kitu ya transport peke yake. Sisi ni ofisi yetu.
Muuza mboga, muuza matunda, muuza kila kitu hapa. Ni barabara ndio kupeleka.
Tuna pongezi kubwa sana kwa sababu barabara imetengenezwa mzuri. Wametutengenezea barabara kama ya Ulaya.
Yote haya kwenye KBC Channel 1 Ijumaa saa 2:30 usiku.
The Masai Mara is one of the most productive ecosystems in the world.
In case I spot any animal with a problem or an injury, I can easily contact the people concerned.
In Maasai communities, women stay at home, but one woman, Lucy Rotican, has decided to defy these expectations.
It was hard, but I was trying like I should prove them I'll do it, but it took time before they accepted me in the field.
The presence of these animals makes the Masai Mara one of the most popular tourism destinations in Africa. This is Wildlife Warriors, and I'm Paula Kahumbu.
Seated there, not knowing you are the newest millionaire in town. There are billions of unclaimed financial assets held by the Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority in the form of security deposits, shares, long-forgotten bank savings, pension money, among others, that are waiting for the rightful owners to claim them. And you might be one of them. To learn more, visit the 3-day UFAA Reunification Clinic from 16th to 18th December 2021 at the Savo Ballroom, KICC. Labda umeomoka na haujui. Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority. Receive, safeguard, reunite.
Sasa wewe ni kisugu gani tuongeleza huko? Sinaongeanga na mbwa yetu. Unaniambia namna gani? Inaniambianga sasa ile inataka kwenda kunini kwa pompu. Inaniambia please may you take me to the toilet. Naona iambiaje? Naiambia baby. Sunita, you have confirmed my worries.
Nahuanga na lata yangu. Niko hapa nachungulia. Ondeka akaingia hivi, kutoka akatoa findigwi. We! Akatoa findigwi.
Wewe jibu maswali vile unaulizwa.
I'm trying my best.
Sasa unachanganya.
No, I'm trying my best.
Mimi Mkenya ningoje ifuatuliwe, nikaslide kwa nyasi yangu. Ningoje polisi akuje.
Good evening, welcome to Prime Edition. I am Cythia Nyamai. Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i is putting on notice politicians. We have the details for you. A former student of Moi Girls has been found guilty of manslaughter in the death of 10 students. We have more stories for you coming up shortly, but first, let's have the highlights. One person dies in another gold mine tragedy in Cythia County.
Today, as patron, I do call on the fund to establish a framework that supports research, technology, and innovation that not only meets the present challenges faced by persons living with disabilities, but also the potential challenges that may arise in the future.
The president undertakes to accelerate programs that improve the lives of people with disabilities. Kenya's COVID-19 positivity rate spikes to 16.3% as 943 people test positive in the last 24 hours. Our sign language interpreter is Lensa Odingo. And remember, we would like to hear from you. You can send us your feedback on Twitter and also on Facebook, also Instagram. Tell us what you would like to hear from us and our stories, what you would like us to even add. The sign names, the names actually are KBC Channel 1. Now, moving on, even before the dust settles on the Abimbo gold mine tragedy that claimed a miner's life, one person has also been confirmed dead after an accident occurred at another gold mine in Kachola Buoro village at Bondo, Cythia County this afternoon. The deceased, Didan Onyango Mushira, aged 43, died when a rock from the mine shaft hit him on the head, killing him on the spot.
Bondo area residents are in shock after a miner died in another gold mine tragedy in the same region. According to Edwin Oro, who was working with the deceased Didan Onyango and two other colleagues, he was in the process of climbing out of the 30-meter mine when he met his fate.
Na kati yangu naye ilikuwa kitu kama mita 4-5 hivi. Na hapa katikati ndio ilikuwa na simu na shaft ya kwenda juu. Na kama hajafika kwa shaft ndio nikasikia kama simu imenguruma brrr, nikiangalia nyuma nimeona tu kama wenye walikuwa karibu naye wanatoroka.
Bondo Township Chief Walter Omolo, who confirmed the incident, said he received a distress call from the area assistant chief and rushed to the scene.
Tuliarifu wakubwa wetu, alafu tukatoka naye tukakuja hapa. Kukuja hapa tukapata mwenye aliathiriwa ametolewa, ako nje, amefunikwa na amekufa.
According to the area chief, the miners in the area were operating illegally since the government stopped their operation.
Kwa tunajua hiyo shimo inafanya kazi kwa sababu wakati tulikuja hapa wakatuambia hizo shimo zimewachwa. Sisi tunaweza tu kuhimiza watu yetu ambao wanachimba migodi wawe wanatilia maanani sheria zenye zinatakikana.
The accident comes barely 2 weeks after 8 miners were trapped at Abimbo gold mine in the same region. The body of the deceased has been moved to Bondo Hospital mortuary. Ruth Wamboi for Prime Edition.
Now to a story that we had highlighted earlier. President Uhuru Kenyatta says the government will accelerate the role of affirmative action programs and policies to help persons with disabilities achieving their full potentials. Speaking at celebrations to mark the 40th anniversary of the National Fund for the Disabled of Kenya, Uhuru reiterated the government's commitment to continue improving the lives of the people living with disabilities.
Oh, wow. You're laughing. President. Yeah. Well done.
President Uhuru Kenyatta on Thursday led stakeholders of the National Fund for the Disabled of Kenya, institutions and schools for special needs in celebrating 40 years since the establishment of the fund.
Yeah. Beautiful. You make this. Yeah.
The president lauded the fund's role in breaking barriers to secure social inclusion and individual empowerment of people living with disabilities.
We have overcome numerous obstacles and without doubt restored hope to millions among us. The fruits of the fund are tangible. Careers have been birthed and nurtured. Persons living with disabilities have seen their businesses flourish. Their music even tops the charts, and their voices in Parliament have multiplied.
While hailing the trustees for prudently managing the fund, the head of state reaffirmed the government's commitment in improving the lives of people living with disabilities.
We will accelerate the rollout of affirmative action programs and policies that helps break down barriers which hold the persons living with disabilities from realizing their full potential.
The ministry, together with the fund and other key agencies, will continue to improve policy, registration, and coordination to ensure people living with disability reach their full potential and contribute to national development.
President Uhuru, however, called for the establishment of a framework that supports research, technology, and innovation to address current and even future challenges that may emerge.
This would include sponsoring, hopefully, an award for our universities and other institutions of learning in the fields of engineering and the sciences for students and faculty that generate ideas, helping in breaking barriers faced by persons living with disabilities.
The empowerment agenda has been felt in each and every county by individuals, households, and institutions of learning.
Several stakeholders were featured for their roles in addressing the plight of disability, including the president himself from a beneficiary of the fund. The fund was established in 1981 and strives to enhance social economic empowerment of persons with disabilities in Kenya. Kamche Menza for Prime Edition.
A former student of Moi Girls School has been found guilty of manslaughter in the death of 10 students following a fire incident at the school 4 years ago. Trial Judge Stella Mutuku reduced the 10 count of murder to manslaughter, citing the prosecution's failure to prove malice on her part. Meanwhile, the police informant Peter Ngugi in the murder probe of lawyer Willie Kimani took the stand to testify, detailing his involvement with the other police charged and denied being part of the plan that led to the murder of the lawyer and his client.
The 18-year-old Tiffany Wangari Gathoga student has been found guilty of manslaughter. She had been charged with the murder of 10 students at Moi Girls School who died in a fire incident in 2017. Trial Judge Stella Mutuku, however, acquitted her of the 10 counts of murder, saying the prosecution failed to prove malice, whether expressed, implied, or constructive, on her part, but found her guilty of manslaughter. The prosecution had said that on the fateful night of 1st and 2nd of September 2017, the student and her friends prayed before going to bed, asking God for forgiveness for what she was about to do. A total of 42 witnesses testified. Justice Mutuku set sentencing on the 4th of January 2022. Meanwhile, police informant Peter Ngugi in the murder probe of Willie Kimani and his client took to the stand to testify. Appearing before Justice Jesse Lisit, the police informant detailed the events of the day when the lawyer and his client were believed to have been killed. Ngugi says he got a phone call from Juan Kamau to be at the Mavoko police station to monitor a suspected thief and subsequent trips that culminated at a river where long luggages in sacks were recovered. In the company of the police, they would later head to Mlolongo where they will take drinks and fried beef. Ngugi would later describe how he was beaten and mishandled, saying he could not ask for bail to be out due to the information he held. The hearing will continue on Friday. Serafina Robi for Prime Edition.
And now to COVID updates, where Kenya's positive rate has shot to an all-time high of 16.3% since the government relaxed the COVID-19 confinement measures on Mashujaa Day. The country recorded 943 positive cases from a sample size of 5,787 tested in the last 24 hours. Total confirmed positive cases are now at 258,557. No death was reported today. The cumulative fatalities remain at 5,350. As of December 15th, 2021, a total of 8,505,984 million people have been vaccinated across the country, from which 5,101,374 have been partially vaccinated. Globally, data from the Johns Hopkins University shows more than 272 million people have been infected and over 5.3 million have died. Now, moving on now to some more politics. Deputy President William Ruto has once again accused his competitors of ganging up to frustrate his race to State House for fear of defeat in the forthcoming elections. The Deputy President drummed up support for his bottom-up economic model, claimed his party is focused on empowering Kenyans who have previously been exploited by selfish politicians.
Deputy President William Ruto climaxed his vote hunt in the Western region by slamming his opponents, whom he claimed have joined forces in a bid to halt his race to State House. Deputy President William Ruto climaxed his vote hunt in the Western region by slamming opponents, whom he claimed have joined forces in a bid to halt his presidential race.
Wanalitendawili na wengine wanasema wao wanataka wabadilishe katiba kwanza, waongeze mamlaka ya rais, waongeze vyeo ya viongozi, sijui prime minister, sijui gani, sijui assistant, sijui nini. Mimi nimewaambia mambo ya mamlaka na vyeo na katiba ingoje. Tubadilishe kwanza uchumi, tupange ajira ya hawa vijana.
According to the Deputy President, those opposing his State House race have sensed defeat and have now shifted into painting his economic model in bad light instead of offering real solutions to Kenyans.
Mambo ya uchumi Kenya imekuwa ikipangwa Nairobi, inapangwa na wale wanajulikana, inapangwa na kampuni kubwa kubwa, na inasemekana pengine siku moja ikateremuka ikawafikia nyinyi hapa chini. Mumengojea miaka 50 haijawafikia hapa chini. Nyinyi mnataka tuendelee kungojea ile tumongojea miaka 50 haijafika, ama hii kitu tupindue, tubadilishe, tuanze na huku chini, ama mnataka tuendelee kungojea ya juu? Sisi ni watu wa bottom up.
Leaders accompanying the DP telling residents that they stood to gain under the UDA government.
Leo vile tunaongea hapa, ndugu zangu, Musalia Mudavadi amewachwa kwa roundabout, hajawachwa. Samawachwa. Na mimi nataka niseme hivi nikiwa hapa nyumbani, Musalia ni mtoto wetu, Wetangula ni mtoto wetu. Hatutakubali serikali ya William Ruto in a free and fair manner. Watoke kwenye hoteli, watoe campaign program yao, watoe mfumo wao wa kiuchumi, wamenyana na sisi kwa sababu tukiwashinda hatutaki kusikia kwamba mtu ameibiwa kura.
For Prime Edition, I'm Gladys Mungai.
And now to some more politics, where One Kenya Alliance OCA principals Kalonzo Musyoka and Moses Wetangula have dispelled rumors of any possible fallout ahead of next year's general elections. The OCA principals, who converged at the Friends International Center Church in Nairobi for the memorial service of Mama Rosabella Jereno Mudavadi, assured the public that OCA will remain united with a firm resolve to form the next government.
Barely hours after Deputy President William Ruto urged OCA principals to join UDA party to fortify their chances of winning the 2022 general election, the OCA leaders have promised to be united to the ballot.
As One Kenya Alliance, we are together. Please pray for us. Please pray that the next team, the best team, the team that will hold this nation together will be in place to govern this country next year.
We in OCA have agreed that we are together to the end, and any one of us will carry the weight, the mantle, the interests, and the vision of the group.
While attending the memorial service of Mama Rosabella Jereno Mudavadi at the Friends International Center Church in Nairobi, the OCA leaders, who countered speculations of a fallout among them, dismissed notion of a two-horse race for presidency between Deputy President William Ruto and ODM leader Raila Odinga.
Mudavadi has a right to take a stand. And if he has decided that he does not want to support either Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga or Honorable William Ruto, they must give Musalia Mudavadi his respect and leave him alone to pursue his agenda.
We have to make sure this narrative of two horse is not there. We are OCA, we are a third force.
We pray for you so that the next year will be a good year for you. The next year will be a successful year for this family, and we will work with you, Mheshimiwa Mudavadi.
Meanwhile, a section of leaders allied to Amani National Congress Party have dismissed Ruto's invitation to Mudavadi to join his presidential bid.
We and myself, among others, have encouraged the Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka and the Honorable Musalia Mudavadi as the main leaders of OCA to go all the way. And there are a lot of Kenyans who will follow them because they know they are peace-loving Kenyans.
And the National Gender and Equality Commission Chair Joyce Mutinda has asked political parties to consider people living with disabilities for leadership positions. Speaking in Olkalau, Nyandarua County, Mutinda asked parties to consider waiving the candidates' registration fees for people living with disabilities to encourage them to contest in the elections.
Unapata shida kubwa sana ambapo hawajitokezi, ni wengine hawajui kama wanaweza kujitokeza. Lakini kwa mwaka huu tumeona huyu Kigame akijitokeza, akasema anataka kuwa rais wa Kenya. Sasa najua wengi watajitokeza.
Ben Chumba, Prime Edition.
Now, Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i is putting on notice politicians using violence to drive their political agenda. Matiang'i, who was speaking in Kisumu while presiding over the operation of the Central Nyakach Division, said the government will not spare anyone disrupting peace and tranquility in the country ahead of the general election next year. Wycliffe Okech reports.
The Interior CS was in Nyakach Sub-County, Kisumu County, to preside over the operationalization of Central Nyakach Division, where he was installed as Nyakach clan member. Matiang'i using the opportunity to direct chiefs and their assistants to prioritize delivery of about 52,000 identity cards lying uncollected in the vast Nyanza region.
We must get all these ID cards, these 52,000 ID cards must be given to their owners before we start voter registration in January. Kwa sababu watajisajili namna gani kupiga kura na hawana kitambulisho.
The tough-talking Matiang'i at the same time sounded a warning to politicians allegedly using violence to advance their political agenda, saying the government will not relent on its quest to keep the country more secure ahead of next year's polls.
Sisi kama serikali hatutaingilia mtu yote, na nimesema kila mara, you don't need our permission to campaign. Hiyo wakati ulipita. You are free as a Kenyan citizen to go wherever you want to go and campaign. Talk to Kenyans, provided usiwasumbue. Ukiwasumbua tutaingia. Yeah, provided uweke amani. Na yule ambaye anatafuta kiti, awe mama, awe mwanaume, awe kijana, ana uhuru ambao umetolewa na katiba.
Dr. Matiang'i dismissing claims he was supporting ODM leader Raila Odinga's presidential bid.
Lazima inchi inaongozwa na utaratibu kama familia ama namna gani? Sababu Mheshimiwa Rais wetu akituelekeza tuseme tufanye namna hii, anatoa kauli ya mipango ya serikali na mipangilio ya serikali, sisi kazi yetu ni kufuata hayo. That is how this country has been managed over a period of time, and that is how it's going to be managed.
And on the backdrop of security lapses in the neighboring countries in the recent past, the Interior CS called upon members of the public to be more vigilant during this festive season and report suspicious characters to authorities for action.
Hii mambo ya ugaidi bado iko na sisi. Na waomba tafadhali, mahali unakaa, usifikiri eti hapa ni kijiji, watu hawawezi kuingia hapa wakora. Ukiona mtu ambaye unamshuku ama mtu ambaye hajulikani, tafadhali toa ripoti kwa polisi haraka iwezekanavyo, kwa chief, kwa assistant chief, ili sisi zote tushirikiane. Usalama unatokana na ushirikiano wetu sisi wote.
Wycliffe Okech, Prime Edition, Kisumu County.
Your catch for that report. We will be taking a short break, but don't go too far away. I've just come back from the DRC Congo, and I will be telling you about the business opportunities coming up shortly.
Up to date, KTDA and the small planter have planted about 73,000 odd acres. Negotiations with the World Bank, IBRD, has taken place to finance the building of some 17 factories. The amount of money available from the World Bank for these 17 factories was not enough, and therefore the CDC, Commonwealth Development Corporation, have come into the scene by loaning the KTDA and the Kenya government some £2.245 million towards that program.
Seated there, not knowing you are the newest millionaire in town. There are billions of unclaimed financial assets held by the Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority in the form of security deposits, shares, long-forgotten bank savings, pension money, among others, that are waiting for the rightful owners to claim them. And you might be one of them. To learn more, visit the 3-day UFAA Reunification Clinic from 16th to 18th December 2021 at the Savo Ballroom, KICC. Labda umeomoka na haujui. Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority. Receive, safeguard, reunite.
And 98% of the passenger transit in any country, not particularly Kenyans, happens on roads.
Kwanza ningempa kongole sana Mr. President. Barabara si kitu ya transport peke yake. Sisi ni ofisi yetu.
Muuza mboga, muuza matunda, muuza kila kitu hapa. Ni barabara ndio kupeleka.
Tuna pongezi kubwa sana kwa sababu barabara imetengenezwa mzuri, wametutengenezea barabara kama ya Ulaya.
Yote haya kwenye KBC Channel 1 Ijumaa saa 2:30 usiku.
Welcome back. Now to some good news where Kenyans will from December enjoy a 15% reduction in electricity cost. Kenya Power says this will be reflected in power bills covering this month, which will be sent to consumers in January 2022. The move comes a week after President Uhuru Kenyatta on Jamhuri Day announced that the reduction in the cost of power will be implemented in 2 tranches of 15% each.
Efforts to bring down the overall cost of power are starting to bear fruit following Thursday's announcement by Kenya Power to reduce the cost of power by 15% this December. This is in compliance with President Uhuru Kenyatta's Jamhuri Day directive that the cost of electricity be reduced by at least 15% and a second tranche of 15% thereafter. The first 15%, which will be achieved through initial actions focusing on system and commercial losses, being reflected in the December bills, and a further 15% reduction in the first quarter of 2022. In September, President Kenyatta directed the Ministry of Energy to review all power purchase agreements with independent power producers to pave way for a reduction in the cost of electricity by 30% to an average of 16 per kilowatt or a unit from the current 24 a unit. Come January, Kenyans will start seeing a reduction in their monthly power bills as the government moves to implement the remaining 15% by March next year. Kenya Power vows to work with all stakeholders to provide clean, affordable, reliable, and accessible power to all Kenyans, which will bring down the cost of living and improve Kenya's competitiveness as the region's industrial hub. Expensive power has dissuaded investors from setting up shop in Kenya, while others have closed shop due to the high cost of power. Caroline Jenga for Prime Edition.
Thank you, Caroline, for that report. Now, at least 1.2 million youth registered for the Kazi Mtaani Phase 3 program are being considered to be employed in the ongoing affordable housing projects across the country. Housing Principal Secretary Charles Hinga says the initiative will see more young people being trained, certified, accredited, and employed in public-driven initiatives.
The Affordable Housing Agenda targets construction of 500,000 affordable housing units for low and middle income earners. Construction of the houses require a large workforce to drive the development. Housing Principal Secretary Charles Hinga says the Kazi Mtaani program is a low-hanging fruit to close any labor force gaps in such projects.
We want to start mainstreaming these young people into meaningful jobs. We are producing a lot of opportunities, but now we want to be very deliberate that all these public-driven initiatives like this development should absorb a lot of these workforce.
Speaking during the signing of a deal for construction of 5,660 affordable housing units at Mavoko, Machakos County, Hinga said the affordable housing program is picking pace, with developers tapping incentives on offer.
Some of the other things is like the IDF. We have preferential rate, then the railway development levy.
In the new Mavoko project, a local developer plans to invest 90 billion shillings in the 4-year project on a 55-acre development that will have a community center, commercial facilities, and other amenities.
This is going to be undertaken by a local developer. You know, we've been talking about growing our local capacity, and if the first large-scale project of this magnitude is going to be undertaken by our local developers, I think it also shows that as a country we have made great strides.
To be on the project, it was a long journey. We had been discussing, debating, pricing, specifications, finance arrangements, all this.
By April, the government says 186,000 affordable housing units had been constructed across the country, with potential homeowners being urged to apply through the Boma Yangu portal and secure financing from the Kenya Mortgage Refinancing Company. Alan Auko, Prime Edition.
President Uhuru Kenyatta has called for the adoption of technology in wildlife conservation for prosperity. Speaking during the 75th anniversary of Nairobi National Park, the head of state noted that in technological advancement laid potential to fully eradicate poaching and other vices, as well as improve wildlife and environmental conservation.
Kenya did not lose any rhino to poachers in 2020, but 11 elephants were hunted down for their tasks.
And the only rhino we lost this year at Truma National Park, the people who killed that rhino were arrested and the tasks are in our possession.
According to the Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife, though progressive, a lot needs to be done in support of the conservation agenda.
So yes, climate change is major, and because we are worried about biodiversity loss, we have seen the drought in the northern part and animals are suffering and dying. The other key issue, Your Excellency, is human-wildlife conflict.
Competition for land, inadequate financing and adverse effects of climate change are among threats to conservation.
As a government, we are committed to eradicate poaching and to end the illicit trade in wildlife. But it is critically important that we also collectively raise awareness not just on the serious effects of wildlife crime, but also highlight the need to secure wildlife habitats.
Speaking during the 75th anniversary of the Nairobi National Park, President Uhuru Kenyatta directed the Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife and the Kenya Wildlife Service to enhance the use of technology in fighting poaching activities.
And to address the emerging challenges, the Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife, KWS, should also use new innovations, use of technology and other innovative measures to address the wildlife challenges, particularly poaching.
President Kenyatta believes technology presented the solution to eradication of poaching and reduction of conservation costs. The government currently spends about 7 billion shillings annually on conservation. Regina Manyar reporting for Prime Edition.
Now, at the just concluded East African Community Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Expo in Tanzania, the Standby Jiko, which is a modern energy saving stove, was among the most popular as more and more people visited it to get information about the innovation. Our reporter Wycliffe Okech interacted with Mudharia Samuel, a Kenyan who innovated the clean cooking Jiko at the exhibition, and filed the following report.
The 21st edition of the EAC MSMEs Expo in Mwanza, Tanzania provided exhibitors from across the EAC member states with an opportunity to showcase their prowess in innovation. Mudharia Samuel, a maker of energy-saving stoves, better known as Jiko, is a champion of using clean energy.
Nafanya kazi ya energy-saving jikos, manjiko ya kutumia kuni kidogo, ili tusuie miti isiharibike sana, hewa yetu isiharibike.
Samuel has been in the business for the last 12 years and has exhibited his product within and outside Kenya thanks to the annual EAC Trade Fair.
Hii maonyesho imenifanya nifunguke akili sana, sababu mbeleni kabla siyakuja kwa hii maonyesho nilikuwa nauza manjiko yako locality area kwangu tu Meru County, lakini wakati nilitoka nikaenda Dar es Salaam, nikakuja nikaenda Bujumbura, nikaenda Rwanda, nikaenda Uganda. Hizo nchi zote nimetembea, Nairobi hapa kwetu.
Access to finance is one of the challenges bedeviling micro, small and medium enterprises within the East African community. However, Samuel says there is yet another route for savings which he adopted and has now employed 33 Kenyans.
Kwanza hiyo ndio challenge kubwa tuko nayo, mambo ya kuanza kazi. Pesa ukienda ukichukua mkopo, kuna ingine inaleta shinda, unashindwa vile utalipa. Lakini kwangu mimi kuna sikuwa nafanya kazi na loan. Nilifanikiwa kupata kazi na nikapewa down payment. Na kutoka kwa hiyo down payment nilimitia pesa ya kufanya kazi, nikafanya na hiyo pesa kazi pole mpaka kazi kapanuka.
He hopes to grow demand for the stoves beyond the East African community block and in the process create more employment opportunities.
Kwa hivyo ukienda kwa workshop yangu ni kama niko na mpaka sasa nilianza nikiwa mimi peke yangu, lakini mpaka sasa nimeajiri watu 33 wale wameandikwa sasa kufanya kazi kila siku. Na kuna wakati mwingine tukiwa na onda kubwa tunachukua wengine kutoka nje tunawaandika.
Samuel urges households to revert to cooking stoves such as his because they are cost and eco-friendly when compared with the traditional open flame.
Mimi hubiri mambo ya kutumia kuni ya njiko ya kuni sana zaidi ya njiko ya makaa. Kwa sababu gani? Njiko ya makaa, ukitumia njiko ya makaa lazima ukate mti yote chini, yanguke chini yote ili uchome makaa. Lakini njiko ya kuni unatoa branches, unaacha mti imesimama, mwaka hiyo ingine itakuwa imemea branches zingine na unatoa tena.
And while the EAC Trade Fair has answered the prayers of many MSMEs in terms of market reach, border challenges as well as high and unpredictable levies still inhibit the growth of many enterprises.
Tuko na shinda kama kwa mpaka kufanyiwa clearance ya mizigo yetu. Tunaomba tu sababu ya Afrika Mashariki imeshikana. Tukienda kwa mpaka tuwe tunafanyiwa clearance kama vile wakiingia Kenya wanafanyiwa.
Wycliffe Okech for Prime Edition.
Now, Kenyans are increasingly embracing environmentally sustainable architecture in real estate development in a bid to lessen energy needs. Tonight on Tech One, our reporter Alan Oko visited a model green building in Kiambu County and documents green construction and sustainable living.
A sectoral breakdown on the UN habitat shows the building sector can account for 58% of greenhouse emissions reduction, followed by the transport sector at 21% and materials efficiency at 16%. This, experts say, is the future of urban developments. This is a model green building. And this is where contractors with the technical expertise to build it come in.
Hi, I'm James Mitchell, co-founder and CEO at BuildX.
Mitchell believes that by embracing green construction technologies, residents will greatly contribute to sustainable urbanization.
But one of the things that we know about wood is that it isn't ultimately, in its structural form, an exterior material. So on the outside, we need to cover it with a stone. The stone doesn't need to be very thick. These ones are a little bit thinner than the normal block size that you're used to seeing, but we could go a lot thinner with different types of cladding materials to wrap the building, basically.
I asked him how practical it was to replicate this particular innovation in villages and other towns, given panels can be prefabricated off-site.
We can essentially leave a cavity by having some lighter non-structural frame. In this case, we've got a light aluminium frame with an insulation. Insulation is optional, particularly in Kenya. But again, we can use this gap between the timber and the plasterboard to run those services if we want.
But that's not all.
To build a unit like this is up to 70% faster than traditional methods using concrete and stone. This particular prototype that we're standing in, which is about 60 square meters, was put up in 20 hours.
One of the biggest challenges is a lack of a local materials factory. awareness and expensive procurement of sustainable materials, which may make building green a daunting task.
This is a material that today, as we stand in it, is more expensive than a lot of the traditional methods used in Kenya. But we've seen in other markets, even comparable markets like South Africa, where we source this particular product from, that when it's produced locally.
Despite the headwinds, technologies like cross-laminated timber, as we learned, come with some long-term benefits.
One major benefit of using CLT as a construction material is its ability to resist fire, or how it burns during a fire.
Interestingly, during construction of these model houses, contractors have found a way of introducing social impact practices too.
We collaborated with our sister organization called Build Her. So Build Her trains women in Kenya and teaches them accredited construction skills, and about 60% of the labor force while working on the prototype came from Build Her.
For the sector to thrive, players say green buildings have to be supported by other like-minded organizations and state agencies with common goals.
We educate a lot on how to rate and certify these buildings. We advocate through a lot of policy changes in government towards supporting sustainability in construction.
Green building designs are expected to reduce carbon emissions. Cross-laminated timber offers more pros than cons because it is more redundant than steel and concrete. And why not? Especially if it is living sustainably. Alan Naoko, Tech One.
Sustainably. Thank you, Alan Oko, for that story. Now, MultiChoice Kenya has commissioned the 26th GoTV site in Bomet, promising subscribers in an area of a clearer signal. MultiChoice Kenya Managing Director Nancy Matimu says GoTV will launch 4 new sites in a signal expansion plan, targeting to have a total of 30 transmission sites in Kenya by March next year. Director Nancy Matimu says the new site will boost GoTV reception in Bomet town and adjacent areas, offering subscribers access to more channels and easier access to information and entertainment.
With a network that is covering over 70% of the population, we are adding 6 additional sites. Of those 6 additional sites, we've identified Nanyuki, Bomet, Kilifi, Nyahururu, Busia, Kitui.
Launch will not only improve information sharing, but also will create opportunities for our people in terms of jobs, in terms of businesses.
Now, Kenyan businesses should explore opportunities in the Democratic Republic of Congo, which is Kenya's 6th largest international trading partner. Kenya's ambassador to DRC, Dr. George Masafu, says the DRC has businesses and investment opportunities in infrastructure, hospitality, manufacturing, construction, and farming. I accompanied more than 200 Kenyan business leaders and investors during the just concluded 15-day trade mission to DRC, and tonight I bring you the story of why direct flights between the two countries is important.
The Democratic Republic of Congo's bid to join the East African community is at its last stage, the verification stage. And Kenyan investors seem to be excited about the prospects. What is it about the DRC?
Low-cost carrier Jumbo Jet started a new route to Goma in the Democratic Republic of Congo in September this year, making it the first airline to have direct flights between Nairobi and the capital of North Kivu province. Business relations between Kenya and the Democratic Republic of Congo have been cordial, with both government officials and private sector players in the two countries forging closer ties. Kenya plans to open a consulate in Goma, which private sector players are keen to capitalize on to grow business between Kenya and the DRC.
Goma is the nearest entrance to Kenya, and trucks bringing goods from Mombasa come straight what we call the Northern Corridor, comes through Uganda, then it comes now to Beni, then it comes to Goma. Most of the petroleum goods and then other manufactured goods come through Goma.
And that's where the growth comes in. One of the things that, as per the bilateral agreement that we have between Kenya and DRC, we were given 4 frequencies a week. We started with 2 as we marketed the route, and as the numbers got to over 40%, we increased to the 3. Very soon you will find us moving to the 4th, but the best product will be a daily flight.
The low-cost carrier is eyeing more routes in Africa, which is expected to become one of the fastest-growing aviation regions in the next 2 decades, with an average annual expansion of nearly 5%.
In every market that we go to, we grow the market. You find places like routes that we get into within a year, we grow it by 30%. So for us is also, are we in a position to grow this market by selling our coastal destinations?
Kenyan businesses are exploring opportunities in the DRC market as they target to diversify the export portfolio and volumes after COVID-19 disruption underscored the importance of deeper inter-regional trade.
Mombasa, Eldoret, Mombasa, Kisumu, Mombasa, Lamu, even Mombasa, Goma. That's something that we are looking at. There's also into Tanzania, because you find people, there is no airline operating that. So that becomes our first front in terms of our expansion. Secondly, is to look at partners in Goma.
Other Kenyan companies, among them Equity Bank, KCB, Serena Hotels, Mabati Rolling Mills, are also expanding in the DRC. The Kenya Forest Service is integrating forest conservation and food production in a drive towards the targeted 10% forest cover and enhancing food security. The Kenya Forest Service is contracting farmers to grow crops in areas where tree seedling have been planted for up to 3 years as a way of boosting food production.
At the expansive uplands forest in Lari, Kiambu County, we find members of the forest communities tilting the land. Ordinarily, it would be illegal to cultivate in a gazetted forest, but this has been made possible thanks to the Forest Act 2016 that saw the establishment of the Plantation Establishment and Livelihood Improvement Scheme, commonly referred to as PELIS. Under the Plantation Establishment and Livelihood Improvement Scheme, the Kenya Forest Service can contract farmers to farm inside a forest as a way of promoting forest ownership among communities living adjacent to the forest.
Among the factors that attract them in the forest is availability of land. Because, Kiambu in general, if you look at the issue of land, we have land fragmentation. So every family has very small parcels of land which cannot sustain them economically. So the forest accords them the benefit of getting land both for subsistence and commercial. When they come, they're able to grow different fruit crops.
Farmers in Lari now cultivate sukuma wiki and other crops in the expansive 700 hectares uplands forest.
Nimepewa eka moja, inanisaidia kulima, nalisha watoto, nasomesha watoto, nikipanda sukuma kama hii, nitavuna, nilipie watoto shule.
Under the Plantation Establishment and Livelihood Improvement Scheme, the Kenya Forest Service harvests mature trees before planting young trees, then contract farmers to grow specific crops on the land with the planted tree seedlings.
This community wants the farm now from this forest. As I had mentioned sometimes earlier, is that the neighboring community, they don't have adequate land where they can farm. So this is an opportunity where they can meet, where they can get their livelihood. And by doing so, they farm different crops within the forest. When they sell, it is able now to sustain them and improve their livelihood.
This way, farmers tend to the young trees while cultivating in the land.
Juu najua shamba ya huko nje sio kama hii ya forest. Juu hii ukipewa miti ndio itakutoa huku. Si unaona? Ya huko nje utaenda utafute ukomboe. Mwenyewe anaweza kuambia ulime miaka 2 utoke. Naona. Sasa huku miti ndio itakutoa huku.
Before being allowed to cultivate the crops, Contracted farmers are trained on proper crop husbandry to increase land productivity.
They prepare and they plant the agricultural crops, of which they are so beneficial to them, especially when they harvest those crops. And they plant assortment of crops, including potatoes. You can see here we have the carrots, we have beans, we have kales.
The Kenya Forest Service is targeting to train farmers on cultivation of high-value crops such as mushrooms to maximize farmers' earnings.
Things about 500,000 in 1 hectare. A farmer is able to get that in 1 hectare, depending, of course, on the crops, of 160,000 to 500,000, depending on the crop.
Benson Rioba reporting for FarmWise.
Welcome back. Now let's take a look at what's making headlines in the world of sports. My name is Karen Kibet. Now, the national chess coach Hag Misiko believes the Kenyan team taking part in the ongoing Africa Individual Junior Schools Championship will be crowned champions following the stunning performances produced by our players in the first, second and third round matches in Nairobi. The championship continues tomorrow with Kenyan sensational Elizabeth Sasidi and Don Murwiri in action as they seek to clinch a gold medal in the Long Week Championship, which has attracted over 250 players from 10 nations. The curtains come down this Sunday.
So far, they should just give on more effort on what they're doing. Actually, parents are pleased, coaches are pleased. So everyone in the chess community is okay with what's being done. It's not an elimination tournament. Even if you lose one game of the 9 rounds, you will play till the last round. So far, we have over 30 Kenyan players registered. So far, all of them will play till the last round, 9 rounds. We have 4 more rounds to go. So it's not an elimination tournament.
Moving on, prevention of the COVID-19 protocols have been put in place to contain the spread of the coronavirus during the World Tong Ilmudu Open Championship, which will begin tomorrow at the Aga Khan Multipurpose Hall in Mombasa County. The annual event has attracted 15 countries, including Nigeria, who confirmed their participation today, Brazil, Japan, South Korea, Zambia and Iran, with Turkey, Philippines and Thailand among the first teams to have arrived in the country. The two-day event had earlier attracted 25 countries, but some withdrew due to the COVID-19 threat. Competitors at the event will be aged between 8 to 55 years and will compete in the individual and team categories.
As a federation, we've been working closely with the Ministry of Sports and been following the guidelines from the Ministry of Health as far as COVID protocols are concerned. What we did is we put all our players in a bubble, and that is because we want to keep them all safe. We've also been taking care of our volunteers. Before the tournament, they are all going to get tested. During the tournament, they are also going to get tested so that any person who interacts with the players is going to be safe.
And finally, Leicester City's home Premier League game with Tottenham Hotspur tonight was postponed a few hours ago because of an increase in the positive COVID-19 cases within Leicester's squad. The match is the fourth top-flight game to be cancelled in the past week. Leicester's training ground has been closed to help contain the outbreak. The other two matches, Chelsea versus Everton, Liverpool versus Newcastle, will go on tonight as planned. Meanwhile, Arsenal leapfrogged opponents West Ham to fourth position after a 2-0 victory last night.
Meanwhile, Brighton lost 1-0 at home to Wolves, while Southampton drew 2-2 away at Crystal Palace. Mönchengladbach, Union Berlin settled for a 1-1 draw against Freiburg. Bayer Leverkusen drew 2-2 against Hoffenheim, while tonight Chelsea will play host to Everton in the English Premier League. Leicester will take on Tottenham, while Liverpool will welcome stragglers Newcastle United.
And that's all the sports news we had for you tonight. Cythia, welcome back to the country. That was an amazing story you compiled for us all the way from Congo.
And I have the accent. Batoto
Batoto. Clearly, you are from Congo. Welcome back.
Asante sana. I did catch the accent, but also a lot of business stories and opportunities that we will also be sharing next week. I just want to read one comment coming from Emmanuel Opondo in Kisumu, and he says, could you please tell us more about the story on sustainability in construction? Well, you can check out that story on our website, and we also have it on our YouTube channel. From me and the rest of the team, we wish you a good night.
Good night.
You guys ever read on your own?
Why should we, Ma'alimu? And we are paying school fees for you to teach us. That will be making